The seed was planted on Monday Night Raw, and a split has been teased for the very first time. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. How long will their championship run last, and how long until they inevitably break up? That is the big talking point we're going to start off with on this video here today. Thank you, Liv Morgan, who threw this out in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh on Monday Night Raw, saying, well, Bianca is, the EST, the fastest, the strongest, the toughest, the baddest, all those EST words that come with it. And of course, then she threw into the direction of, well, Bianca, how do you feel? Because this charade of being a team, actually, Jade is actually the same way. And she did go on later to say that they're only together because they held those tag team championships. And at the end of it, Liv warned Jade Cargill, wait till you lose those titles because Bianca is going to stab you in the back. Choice words from Liv Morgan to the women's tag team champions. Of course, then later on will take part in a women's battle royal on Raw in Riyadh. Of course, the winner of that battle royal was going to get a shot against Liv Morgan for her women's world championship. Of course, Raquel and Liv made sure that both the women's tag team champions were eliminated at the same time in the final four, which of course led the final two to be Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria. Io Sky, of course, picking up the victory. She'll get the title shot against Liv Morgan. But the big question mark that I lead to you, NXT, is, well, we have wondered when there will be a first tease of a split between these two, because it felt inevitable. Two big-time single stars thrown together as the tag team. Bianca, of course, the experienced one. Jade, the one who's gaining the experience, of course, being in WWE, being in the team, being around a Bianca Belair. They perhaps feel the time is nearly ready to pull the trigger. I'm assuming WrestleMania is the time for this match, but yeah, I mean, it's good to see that those signs are finally there, because you've been calling for it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, the way they've done it as well, with Liv saying that Bianca's going to turn on Jade, just makes me think that it's going to be the other way around and Jade is going to be the heel in this story. The only other important factor to take into this is when they're going to do this match, which inevitably is going to be a one-on-one between them. Is it Royal Rumble? Is it Chamber? Is it WrestleMania worthy? That's the interesting point where they're going to build to it. I mean, by the looks of it as well, I mean, we did a video a couple of weeks back of predicting who the next champions were going to be, and you went with Raquel and Liv being the tag team champions, and like that could almost possibly come true now, and almost could be the reason why these two lose that title, which starts that rivalry.
It's interesting because obviously, like you said, then you actually answered one of my questions I was going to ask you, was because, I mean, the seed's been put in about Bianca Belair obviously turning on Jade Cargill. That's something we haven't really seen, a heel Bianca Belair on the main roster in WWE.
Right.
However, like you said, there perhaps maybe food for thoughts put in Jade's mind to think, well, actually, maybe Bianca will turn on me, therefore maybe I should stick the knife in first. It's a really unique dynamic that Liv Morgan's posed there, because you can only see now this seed has been put in the ground. It's going to start to grow, and it's how quick it's going to grow. Like you said, when is this match going to take place? Noob in the house, thank you for joining us, Noob, by the way, suggesting WrestleMania 41. It's the place I've suggested it would be on our WrestleMania match card predicted in Vegas. I think it'd be a good place to do that. However, it could always be the finale if they want to do the matches before.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a tendency now of doing like a trifecta of matches, so it might be a case of this starts at Rumble, goes all the way through to WrestleMania. It's just going to be the key part is obviously how they start this. Like, obviously we've had Liv drop this. Do we maybe get like a number one contenders match between, or not a number one contenders match, but a case of if Liv and Raquel can beat Bianca and Jade, they get a title shot for the tag team championships. If you have them take a loss that isn't a title match, start planting the seeds there as well, where, essentially they both look at each other, they start blaming each other, whatever, and then yeah, whenever they decide to pull the trigger, when they lose those tag team titles, possibly, I mean, Survivor Series maybe. I don't know. This is the thing as well, because we're so far off, and like Noob said, he's expecting this to be WrestleMania 41. This is going to be a long build to a breakup, and that's my only worry, is that there's a lot of time between now and WrestleMania. Is the story going to get stale really quickly? Again, it's just how they're going to do the story with these two.
And the thing is, as well, it's interesting because we mentioned about the women's tag team titles. They don't necessarily have to be the first piece that creates the controversy. There are actually some great things in the route between now and WrestleMania that can cause friction naturally before dropping the titles. The Royal Rumble match, these two at one point could be the only
Good
two
shout.
people in the ring. They might have to face one another. The Elimination Chamber could be the final stop to try and get a championship match at WrestleMania. And it may cause that where they kind of go, you cost me. Well, no, you got in my way. Why don't we're a team? We'll focus on the women's tag team titles. Boom, you drop them titles on the last stop before WrestleMania. And all of a sudden, boom, the turn happens. Obviously, we've mentioned the idea that maybe it could be Liv and Raquel, because that was certainly would add friction and fuel to the fire on these two of when they would break up. Another comment from Noob here suggesting maybe Julia and Stephanie Vaquer to be two to take those women's tag team titles rather than Liv Overboard and Raquel Rodriguez. Of course, that'd be sort of something interesting having those titles go to NXT. Certainly was teased very recently with Lash Legend and, of course, Jakara Jackson as well. But full on, I will lead this to one, I suppose, I don't want to say last question, because obviously this is a live Q&A, everybody. This is to have a bit of a brief discussion about what has happened here. We all seem to think it's going to go in the same direction, that these two are going to break up. It's a matter of when, not if. So get your questions in on all topics pro wrestling. We have a few questions that have come in before we started today, but get your questions in nice and early to make sure you get a shout out and your question answered live on air. And thank you for Ray. I've seen your question is already in the live stream already. Yeah, so the last question that I want to get back to then, obviously you mentioned about potentially could have a tag team match here, but one thing we know at this particular time, it looks certain we've got a men's War Games match on the horizon. We have got OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. Is this actually a starting point where Triple H just kind of probably realized, hang on, what about the women? We don't have a women's War Games match yet. Let's start that on Raw. And of course, the women's tag team championships can be on both brands, for example. Is this a planted seed to kick things off? Because Liv Morgan has a challenger in Io Sky. That could take place on Raw. It doesn't have to be on Survivor Series. They could find a way of actually having leaders of the War Games match, having Bianca and Jade as co-captains against Liv and Raquel, who could be co-captains with other members on the team going to the War Game structure.
Yeah, my only thing with that is, who do you team with Jade and Bianca? Because, I mean, with Liv and Raquel, you could easily stick Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend in with them. They've had no real interaction with them already, and they're kind of a big heel team at the minute. And it's finding someone to team with these guys, or like, obviously we have that famous Dakota Kai turn on Tegan Knox from War Games a couple of years ago. Maybe, you know, they might do something like that. It's finding who their tag partners are going to be, and like, does it make sense for them to be their tag partners, and can their tag partners probably afford to take a loss? Because I think at this point they're early favorites to lose that War Games match.
Yeah, you would have that suggestion if that was to take place. For me, if I had to go immediately going through storyline where I could make a bit of a logical booking decision, if Io has the championship match before War Games, gets cost by Raquel or perhaps Jakara Lash Legend, that could get you damage control on the other side with Bianca and Jade. They're technically tweeners / sort of baby faces at the moment. Io loves a trash can flying off the top of that cage, so I would be happy to see her in that structure.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very weird that Io won that match, because, you know, for the longest time they've been heels, and then we've just come off of Nia versus Liv at Crown Jewel, and I thought it's a bit strange booking heel versus heel again. But if the face turn is the thing for Io, then sure, that probably makes the most sense.
Yeah, it could do indeed. Could it be a weird, unique scenario if actually they found a way of doing Nia and Tiffany with Liv and Raquel? Probably wouldn't add up since they were just rivals in the last show.
Yeah, that's... You never know. Like, it is a possibility. And then obviously you've got that whole Tiffany cashing in scenario again that can be, do you know what I mean, a big part of it. But I think, like you said, Io loves flying off the top of a cage in a trash can. I'm sure she'd like to do, do you know what I mean, a trifecta of them and have it happen again. But the good thing is with Io and Kyrie is like, they're high risk takers and they're willing to do these kinds of stunts. And with it being War Games, I mean, I don't exactly imagine seeing Nia Jax come off the top of a cage with a trash can on her head. So you're going to want someone who can do those kinds of high risk moves.
Certainly, she could catch Io though off there, which could be quite interesting as well. But my reason for thinking of that is there, because then you can have Bayley and Naomi with Bianca and Jade. Of course, Bianca and Jade have had a long friendship with Naomi, obviously teamed at WrestleMania as well. So that could be a unique dynamic you could do. However, perhaps you simply just do Nia versus Naomi. Shout out to C Nation Dog, who suggested that on the Survivor Series match card predicted video in the comments section. So I'm going to give him a shout out. He did put that suggestion. I mean, I thought it was a clever one.
Yeah, it makes more sense for them to do Io and Kyrie, just because of, if you're going to do, like, you're taking 4 SmackDown superstars there, and you're not doing anything to, like, there's, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of how, like, what Bailey and Naomi get from doing a War Games match, whereas with Kyrie and Io, obviously they get the proper face turn. Like, we established that these guys are like baby face wrestlers now, and I'm not against putting Naomi and Bailey in there. Just obviously, story wise, it logically has to make sense, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think Damage Control makes the most sense, like you said, and I think actually I like your shout of Lash Legend Jakara Jackson on being on that other side as well at the moment, since the fact they're getting a lot of exposure on WWE TV on the main roster right now.
Yeah.
Let's go into the comments then. We're going to put this topic to the side for now. If anyone wants to continually give more suggestions, feel free to do so. We're going to be diving into other questions as well that you may have in the wrestling community. It could be stuff from Monday Night Raw in Riyadh. It could be moving on to Survivor Series. Could be NXT tonight. Obviously, I've put my short out earlier in the day of my predictions, but I know NXT wants to dive into the topic, particularly that main event with Trick Williams. AEW, we've got some questions in already on AEW, but feel free to dive in as well. So get involved. This is your place, your platform to get involved. But just before we change things up here visually for you, one more comment that just cover NXT's face. Well, Rhea Ripley is out, not to mention Oscar might be recovering from a knee injury, evidence of her update on YouTube, her YouTube channel, and Becky is still out on hiatus. Of course, Becky looks like she's started to be mentioned now by Liv Morgan, so I don't think it's going to be too long until she is back on our screens. But let's switch things up just a little bit. So we're going to start with doing this. So we say goodbye to the girls, and then we're going to go like this. There we are. Hi, there we are. NXT, good to have you on the side there. Let's get into some of your questions. And starting with Ray's question, then he said, are there any wrestlers you don't like because they can't wrestle or for any other reason that you don't watch them on TV? And Steve, I will start with you on this one.
No, I mean, at the minute, there's no one out there that I'm like, there's no one that makes me want to change the channel at the minute. I think it's more to do with storylines at the minute. I think if I'm not invested in the storylines, that's the main thing that makes me change the channel. But I can't say there's a wrestler out there that I don't watch because they can't wrestle. I think it's the fairest thing.
I mean, I'll watch everything if I commit to watching something. Like I'm not going to tell myself, I'm not going to watch it. But there are wrestlers that I struggle to get invested with, whether it's a presentation reason, maybe it's. I mean, there's nothing that someone can't wrestle. I don't buy into. If they get into a ring, they've already got my respect because the fact is they're willing to put their bodies on the line. So for me, people can always improve. They can get better. Like it can be a number of different factors.
I think, do you know what it is? I think more than anything, I think there's people out there that are putting me off watching them because of what they're doing outside of wrestling, like not specifically Jake Hager, like obviously with his tirades yesterday, but there are other wrestlers that are doing dumb stuff with their social media, and I'm kind of like, it almost feels like you're going slightly unhinged, and I don't like. I've portrayed this character in one way for so long, and now that they're starting to do dumb stuff with their social media. Again, I'm not talking about Jake Hager, that guy. Everyone, if you've watched this channel before, you know I just hate Jake Hager anyway. Jack Swagger was my worst nightmare when it come to like 2000s, 2010s wrestling. Like, I just couldn't stand the guy as world champion. Just didn't like enjoy the character whatsoever. But there is other people on social media at the minute that are doing essentially dick moves, and it's honestly putting me off watching them because of their how they act on social media.
Would I be able to care the venture of who, in your opinion, is not presenting themselves in the best way on social media?
Go for it, man.
Give us one or two names then.
Ricochet is one. He's starting to become I think, I don't know, because obviously when he used to be in WWE, it was like their social medias are all kind of really controlled when it comes to WWE. Now that they've gone to AEW, his interactions with fans online, he's starting to use disrespectful terms, and it's like, what internet wrestling community is like, and you know what they're like online, and it's like the fact that you acknowledge them and give them the time and space. It's like, I can understand you're probably defending yourself, but you actually do, in my opinion, you do more by not responding to it. And then, like I said, you're being degrading and disrespectful in replies to these people, and I'm like, it just leaves a taste in my mouth where I'm like, I don't really want to watch your product because, do you know what I mean? I've got no, like, I'm starting to fall out of love with the wrestler because of his personal actions.
Yeah, I mean, it's the value of losing respect because of someone that you see on screen, you see the
Yeah,
presentation, you think, "Yep, this is really well put together." And then when you're, I suppose, your suspension of disbelief is not just of watching how someone performs in ring, but it's also the characters of what you see on screen to the person you're seeing off screen. If it's not matching, then all of a sudden you kind of have a disconnect when you try to go back to the character because it's
yeah.
kind of like, well, I've seen something very different. So, I mean, for me, I join you when it comes to Jake Hager. Unfortunately for him, that is not going against his wrestler has meltdown on Twitter. It felt yesterday watching that. It was some very, in my opinion, distasteful comments and tweets that were going out. But I would say that I just find his matches particularly boring. I've never found them overly exciting. I found him more exciting when he was in his ECW days, but when he became main roster, like you say, World Heavyweight Champion swagger was Jesus Christ. It was like watching paint dry.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well is like you, the way that certain people are using their social medias. Like I said, Ricochet's one of them for me, but there's others out there, and it's almost like how wrestlers treat social media is going backwards. Like we've been through all this stuff before, and do you know what I mean? People got a lot of hate for how they interacted online, and it feels like certain people are starting to slowly drag it backwards again. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to, people like you guys are on TV every week. You're supposed to be bigger, then you're supposed to be better, and you're supposed to present yourself in a better way. And it's like, everyone knows the internet wrestling community can sometimes be a cesspit. And I'm like I said, we try to look at the positives of most things, but dude, man, yeah, it's just like, just be tranquilo about it, man. Just don't interact with them. And like, I know there is a load of scumbags out there, and obviously Twitter is the biggest cesspit anyway. Like in terms of everything, like obviously you and me are big, obviously football fans over here in England, and it's like there's even football fans that do it the exact same way. But even footballers know not to go to the levels that certain wrestlers are doing because do you know what I mean? You're it's not only damaging yourself, but you work for a company, you represent a brand, and do you know what I mean? You're not doing nothing to help that company grow, and it's like you just need to knock on the head and just like, dude, if anything, they should just delete X or Twitter and just get rid of the thing.
Sometimes I think it's for the best, really, for all parties in that sort of way. Because
Yeah,
I understand that someone's get the frustration of it, perhaps invasion of privacy and people trying to throw shade at them.
yeah,
I suppose sometimes they feel they've had enough. But yeah, there is a good way, there's a right way, and there's a wrong way to deal with it. And some
yeah.
people do choose the wrong way. We'll move on, but slightly just before we do, we'll jump ahead to Sid's question because he said, "Did you turn on Jake Hager when he was in on AEW or WWE?" I would say for both, it's probably WWE.
I didn't mind him in AEW because he wasn't he wasn't booked as this big deal. He was a supporting character for Jericho and his factions, and like he done some cool stuff, and like I felt that on AEW he was booked in the right way, but for WWE I just never really found him believable as a world champion. Do you know what I mean? And like we obviously know how the world championship in WWE was treated, where it was like it was essentially a second string title, and Vince didn't really care for it, and it was given to people that were never going to win the WWE Championship, which to him was the rightful top branded title.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be fair, like you only got to go to WrestleMania 29 and see there's a match with him and Alberto Del Rio, another person that'll be on that list, by the way, someone I'm not a fan of when it comes to ring wrestling either. And yeah, it's just yeah, it's not good. But with AEW, I think you have a good point, and I did like his hat. But we'll move on in
Yeah,
the meantime. Kai said that he was never a fan of Jade Cargill. Once she won the TBS title, was angry when she did the Canadian Open Challenge, beat Tara Valkyrie. Jade should not be beating Tara Valkyrie in Kai's opinion, and that's why he doesn't watch her. That's fair. We all have our reasons for
yeah.
what we like and dislike.
I mean, look, we've discussed it so many times before that Jade has only been wrestling for what 2.5, 3 years now, and
Something
it's
like
like this is all very new to her. And AEW wanted to make a big deal out of her, and they did the right thing. They booked her as TBS champion. She went undefeated in like 50 matches. And yeah, unfortunately, there's always times when we see a wrestler that we like want to become champion that doesn't end up winning that title. But in terms of AEW at the time, it was the right deal for them. They were trying to make something out of Jade Cargill.
It certainly was, and obviously they did something right because WWE took an interest afterwards. So
Yeah.
they saw the star value as well in there, and obviously now it seems to be their game looking back at it. But I guess AEW
Yeah.
probably would have done something differently now if they look back in hindsight. Sid asking who should challenge the Motor City Machine Guns for the tag team titles.
Well, I mean that SmackDown side is SmackDown the one, yeah, SmackDown
Yeah.
side, dude, it's stacked with so many good tag teams at the minute, and it's like you honestly, it feels like they should be doing a ladder match with 6 teams every month. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many good talents on there. I mean, dude, honestly, it could be anyone at the minute, but I think they need to, if they're going to be champions for the foreseeable couple of months, they need to. They need to be going up against teams that they should be beating. So I'm going to say Legado del Fantasma against Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo.
That would be an awesome tag team match to watch because obviously in ring Garza and Korea are fantastic, so they would actually
Yeah. But
deliver
they're
big
guys
time.
that can take a loss as well. So
Exactly. I think as well, there should and who will it be, Sid? And Sid, the answer for who it will be is Grayson Waller and Austin Theory to start off with, because I know the
oh
Motor
yeah.
Machine Guns will be in the Grayson Waller effect this upcoming Friday on SmackDown. So I think that's who it's going to be first. But who should be challenging? Obviously, DIY. I'd like to see them running back. I think they could have a proper takeover style tag team match if they was put on the right platform. And the Street Profits as well, criminally underused, in my opinion, in WWE over the last couple of years.
So
And,
they have so suffered from yo-yo booking the last 18 months, 2 years, like bringing in B-Fab and then Bobby Lashley, and we all thought we was going to get this new Hurt Business, and yeah, it never panned out, and Bobby's ended up leaving, and yeah, they need to start booking the Street Profits better again because they are a really good tag team.
Certainly, indeed. Pierre is suggesting that between November and December, we're going to see some breakups of some tag teams. We've got A-Town Down Under, we've got the New Day, and we've got Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Certainly, I think all of them will be breaking up eventually. But as you're saying about November and December, at the end of this month, a whole Raw is going to be dedicated to the New Day for that 10-year celebration. And what better place to do the turn than there? I think Xavier Woods is going to cause heartbreak on the 10-year anniversary against Kofi.
Yeah, and like Big E's obviously going to be there as well because he still is part of the New Day, whether he can wrestle or not. So it's going to be the shock value as well. Like I'm hoping they do it. I think that's going to be the good part. I mean, if not, I want a really big obvious hint that they are planning on doing it, even if they don't do it. But like you said, it makes sense in terms of booking wise. But to go back to this comment quickly, I don't think A-Town Down Under should break up because I think those two would get lost as singles competitors in a minute. Like, especially Austin Theory, I think he would honestly just disappear into existence. Grayson Waller would be okay because he still has like his segment, is the Grayson Waller effect. But I would seriously be worried for Austin Theory if those two broke up.
I would be worried for them as a duo as well, like how they would be booked afterwards. I think Waller, like you say, with the Grayson Waller effect, will be fine. Theory, I just doesn't feel like he's a Triple H guy. It sounds weird because shortly he is. He gets booked regularly on TV, but it's not the Austin Theory that you were seeing being booked before that. So it would be interesting to see how it would go. I'd like to quickly just propose a fantasy booking suggestion, if I may, to do with the New Day. I think as well, we've seen currently now Monday Night Raw, it's got to the stage with the New Day, the losing tag team matches. Some blame is now being put one or another. We've had people trying to take charge. And I think it could be a case that, like you mentioned, Big E could get himself involved with the New Day scenario with the 10-year anniversary. Because if these two are like not quite broken up yet, but they're kind of a little bit more angry with each other, it could be a case that Big E could mediate the New Day 10-year celebration, make sure everything is how it should be on the celebration. And I think Xavier could turn kind of like a similar, like, like the barbershop back in 92 with the Rockers kind of vibe when Shawn Michaels turned on Marty Jannetty. That kind of vibe is what I'd like to see Xavier do, with Biggie kind of like being shocked in the ring, trying to sort of like pull him away, but obviously not get physical either because he doesn't want to get hurt. That could lead to just all the mega heat for Xavier Woods. I'd want Woods then to want to have the match with Kofi, and I want Kofi to be just like the Brett and Owen feud where, Brett said, I'm not doing it under no circumstances. You're my brother. We've been through so much together. I'm not doing the match. And just make Xavier have to take it level after level after level to eventually Kofi has to actually accept that match.
What they have to be careful with this breakup as well is that it doesn't end up like Jimmy and Jay's from last year, and we get all this great hype for a great match, and then the match turns out to be an absolute dud. like Jeremy versus Jarrett Mania this year, it was the worst match on the card at the weekend because it was just a super kick party, and it was just so unentertaining. It was so easy to, like, honestly, it was a TV quality match. So that's the only thing, like, is my worry, is that they don't end up repeating that. But dude, I'm always a fan of a Seth Rollins steel chair shot to the back. Do you know what I mean? While Kofi's not looking. Well, either way, man, I'm excited for it. Hopefully, they can come up with something like a defining, but something that is remembered along the lines of Shield breakup, the Rockers breakup. Do you know what I mean?
It will be exciting indeed. I'm actually really into this feud at the moment in WWE. I think the way they're handling the New Day over the last few months has been, I think, secretly one of the best feuds or one of the best storylines on WWE TV right now.
Yeah.
Millennium Noob says, what are your thoughts on the WWE ID Independent Developmental Program, and which independent wrestlers would you like to see in WWE?
This is a really strange one because, like, obviously NXT is moving away from signing independent wrestlers for the foreseeable future by the looks of it, and they're more sort of focused on bringing in sport-based talent that have done different things, football, track and field, American football, whatever. And the ID thing, like, I know it's supposed to be using like the Nightmare Factory and Booker T's training schools, and it's supposed to be these companies using. These companies are supposed to be helping independent wrestlers get into WWE, and I know they've already signed one guy as well, and I'm trying to think who the guy is. It's like, I want to say it's like, I don't want to say Charles Manson, but I want to say like Charlie Manson or something like that. He's a GCW wrestler as far as I know. He's already signed with it apparently. So, I mean, dude, I think it's WWE's way of signing independent stars without having to go back to the black and gold era where they bring in all these independent talent, like all these indie babies, and do you know what I mean? Try and work their way up, because that's the thing as well, is how many independent talents did they sign during the black and gold era that didn't cut the grade? And I think this is just their way of like not signing independent wrestlers up to 3, 4, 5 year deals and end up having to release them 2 years later because they don't cut the mustard. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think it's an interesting way of doing it. It's another way of WWE to try and dominate the market, as they will obviously do. Obviously, when you say which independents would you like to see, I'll give a shout out to Mr. Kate. I think that I've seen a little bit of her work recently. I think shout out to OTM on the Mutt Wrestling podcast for so splashing and saying this is something we need to look out for. I've been a bit more of aware of her work since, and yeah, I think she would deserve a shot. I know that she's been doing some stuff. I think she's been on AEW TV and with TNA recently on Explosion. So hopefully, if she's not actually signed to anywhere, she would be one I'd give a shout to. But yeah, it's certainly interesting to see how it's going to perform. Obviously, I think it's a time will tell scenario at this current stage.
Charles.
Go on.
I found out the name, by the way. It's Charles Mason. He's apparently supposed to be the first signing. The first one is apparently going to be announced this Sunday. Don't know where, but that's what someone I've just seen on Twitter is posting. So yeah, Charles Mason is I know he's he's a deaf wrestler. He's a GCW wrestler. Yeah, so like I said, he's been doing loads of wrestling stuff. He's got a current storyline at the minute where he's been arrested for something, but yeah.
Interesting. It's an interesting storyline. We'll see where it progresses to, I guess. PS is, do you think Raquel Rodriguez has the potential to be a big star for the future?
I don't know. I would like to think so, but the problem is that the top, like the main event scene in the women's division for WWE is so stacked with talent, and how do you make Raquel Rodriguez stand out from the rest of them? How do you make Raquel Rodriguez a bigger star than Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair? It will take some time, and obviously, like, you want something along the lines of how Becky Lynch became a top star. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, someone busts her nose open, she's covered in blood or whatever. But hopefully, like I said, and injuries as well. She needs to avoid being injured as much. But it's a wait and see. But at the minute, that main event talent for WWE women is stacked, and I find it's going to be really hard for it to break in.
I think it's hard to break in, but obviously when I look at the question, I see the word potential. She's got the potential. If she can remain healthy, I think health is the most important part from it. But she has the tools. She just needs that breakout moment, as NXT was alluding to, and sometimes it can come by accident. Sometimes it comes with with the company pushing every direction for it.
Let me ask you this question. At the present minute, who is the biggest star in WWE? Chelsea Green or Raquel Rodriguez? Bearing in mind that Raquel Rodriguez is a previous NXT Women's Champion, and Chelsea Green has been a tag team champion.
It is Chelsea Green because of her presentation on the main roster.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. You've got to be able to present her better, and being Liv Morgan's bodyguard is not the thing that's going to get her over at the minute.
Thing is, though, is you define the question as well as biggest star. If they had a match, Raquel's winning. So it all depends, I suppose, on how you base it on. But at the same time, I do agree with you. Chelsea Green is the biggest star, and star factor is what matters most to that company.
Yeah, but you're right. But for me, at the minute, Chelsea Green can take loss after loss, and it will not affect her. And I genuinely think that she, at the minute, will be a future world champion because she is heavily loved by the crowd at the minute as well, and that's a big thing as well. Where Raquel Rodriguez, I think, has still got to win the crowd over with something, maybe a character change or whatever. But Chelsea is already at that point where they could literally put her in the Money in the Bank briefcase ladder match this year. She could win it, and do you know what I mean? The crowd would be massively behind it. I think if you used to do that with Raquel as it presently stands, I think she'd struggle to get over. I wouldn't say she struggled to go over. I don't think it'd be as big as Chelsea Green winning it.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be as popular with the fan base at this point, but obviously Raquel, I think, as well, has had a very difficult time. She's only recently just come back as well, so I think she needs a bit of time to get her feet under the table again, I think, and hopefully she's overcome everything that was going on before, and fingers crossed she can push forward. But certainly, Pierre, there's definitely potential there. Kicking it with Leo in the house. Hope you're doing well. Leo says that are Liv and Raquel going to beat Jade and Bianca for those women's tag team championships to cause further of tension between Jade and Bianca heading into the Royal Rumble or Mania? Well, as we spoke about earlier in the video, we did a previous video of who will be the next champion of every champion in WWE, who would be the next one. When we did that video, which is now around a month ago that we did that video, I did suggest Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I'm going to stick my neck out and say, well, I still think that at this particular moment. NXT, where do you sit on the fence with this? Because I think you went with a different team in that video.
I did. I think you're right, and your answer is the most obvious answer. Although I'm still going to pick with my decision, which was Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. I think that the way those two have been booked recently, and if you give those two a tag team run, the fact that they can go back to NXT with them, get some decent tag team defense wins over some NXT talent, coming back up, getting a few wins over main roster stars before eventually losing it again. So your answer is the number one pick, but mine is like the second. I think if it's not yours, it's mine.
There you go. Leah, I hope that answers that well for you, my friend. PS is calling it right now. Those 41 matches for WrestleMania: Theory versus Waller, Kofi versus Xavier, and Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. Also, Pierre does want Jordan Grace, Joe Hendry, and PCO as full-time wrestlers in WWE in 2025. I think you might get your luck with two of them.
Jordan Grace is 100% coming to WWE. I called that. I think we had this conversation months ago, and it was like, this TNA partnership is purely on the basis that WWE wants some of their talent, and Jordan Grace is number one on that list. Jordan Grace, I guarantee you, this time next year, we'll skip NXT and we'll be straight on the main roster. She'll be entering the Rumble, and she'll be staying around from Rumble time.
I agree with that 100%. And I also think Joe Hendry will be in the Rumble as well.
Joe Hendry is the only one. I know he's entering Eurovision, by the way. If no one knows what Eurovision is, massive competition where every country in Europe, plus Australia for some reason, we get to compete in a big singing competition. Joe Hendry's apparently nominating or submitting his entry for the UK. I think that's fantastic. But do you know what? If he can go all the way in that, and that's just something to keep his hype going until next year when his contract's up, all for it.
I just wish he'd done it this year. I was there. I could have seen it live there. Didn't happen.
Would have been fantastic, dude.
I'm not going to Switzerland. Sorry, nothing against Switzerland, but I've got other things I need to do next year. So, but Joe Hendry, hope he does make it. What is your number one greatest gimmick of a wrestler of all time? For me, it's got to be The Undertaker. It's a gimmick that shouldn't have worked, and he made it work for over 30 years. So I will go with The Undertaker.
Yeah, you're right. It probably is The Undertaker, but do you know what? Just to be different, I'm gonna say a name here. You are not prepared for this line, right? This is the most Z-list style wrestler, and for some reason, he's ingrained in my memory. And there is one story that just defines him to a point, right? And it's the Repo Man when he stole the Bulldog's dog. Dude, I don't know why. If you just say to me, "Give me a '90s wrestler," I'm going with Repo Man for like that's the story where he steals the British Bulldog's dog, and it just is ingrained in my memory for the last 30 years, and I don't know why. But you're right, the Undertaker is the right answer.
I'm giving a round of applause for that. I'm sorry, but Mad loves the Repo Man. I loved Repo Man back in the day.
He was so good. He was just like this really, really rubbish. He was like it didn't make sense because he was dressed like a burglar, but he's a repo man, and it's like he's meant to take stuff back that hasn't been paid for. Why has he got a mask and a swag bag? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, but it was beautiful. Aries Wrestling Entertainment, Action Vigs in the house, said he's got more questions for us. He did have 3 that he gave us before we started the stream. So, Aries, this feels as good a time as any to get those questions in. So, I've written them down in quick format, if you will, but we're going to go through them now. Wondering our thoughts on the Hurt Syndicate so far. Of course, MVP Shelton Benjamin and now Bobby Lashley made his debut at Fright Night last week. And also the feud with Swerve. Will Swerve eventually turn on Prince Nana? Is pretty much the gist of it. So I'll give me answers on this one first, if you don't mind. Personally, I'm really happy to see the Hurt Syndicate together in AEW. I think it's going to be a dominant group. My one uncertainty with this group is how they're going to factor in when we have a John Moxley group that's trying to take over the company at the same time. You would feel that eventually this is a group that's strong enough to take on that group, but yet they're both going to be sets of heels. But I like the Hurt Syndicate. I think they're going to do great things in AEW. I think a 4th member will eventually join them, whether it's Ricochet, whether it is Leo Rush, whether it's somebody else that may come into the company, but I don't think it's going to be Swerve Strickland. He has already said that, Prince Nana is family. I don't see him turning on Nana. And I actually don't see Nana turning on Swerve, which could be the biggest swerve if they wanted to do something at Full Gear.
Yeah, I think this is just a story to keep Swerve out of the main event scene for the time being, and it is a storyline to get the Hurt Syndicate over, which is the right booking decision. I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that the Hurt Syndicate can get over, and they can, now that they've got more freedom with their own booking, I'm hoping that they can get over their own way instead of they got over in WWE. They never bothered building on top of what they already had. So yeah, I think they can still get over in AEW. I look forward to it.
Absolutely. To beat Swerve as well, former world champion, to be a starting point for Bobby Lashley, I think is a really big way to come into AEW. It'd be the right booking move, in my personal opinion, as well. Just before we go on to the second question, we're nearly 38 minutes into the video. Thank you everyone that's been joining us for the entire time. I'm popping in during the video as well. If you're still with us, there's a good chance you're probably enjoying the video. So please consider hitting that like button. It really helps the channel out more than you could ever imagine. So please do hit that like button as we keep answering your questions. We did ask as well from Aries, is Wardlow still with AEW? He's not been on the scene on TV since the World Championship match lost to Samoa Joe, which I think was around March, April time. He's still on the page. He's no word of saying he's been released. I think simple answer, he's still with AEW. I guess there's just no plans for him. Someone like a Ricky Starks, who is still under contract, but nothing to do with.
Well, yeah, I think the one with Ricky Starks is he's checked out apparently, and they're just going to keep him off TV till his contract expires, which I believe is meant to be next year, but don't quote me on it. Wardlow, dude, man, the guy had so much hype behind him when he was with MJF, and then this is what I said so many times before, that AEW do this really good thing where they build these people up to a really credible position, and then the booking for them just goes in the pan. Like when Hangman was champion, did all the great stuff to get him to that point where he's champion, and then his creative after it was just rubbish. And then Wardlow's just, I mean, dude, this guy's been in and out of factions since he joined, and he supposed to be with Adam Cole on the Undisputed Kingdom recently, and it's like, what's happened to all that?
Yeah, he's not with them anymore. Clearly, they've left him behind. I feel like they more or less. I felt like they kind of said like he's done when he lost that world title match. We don't need this guy in the group. It felt like they buried him in some format. I did a video about nearly a month ago on this channel, which was AEW wrestlers that would be better in WWE and emphasize the word better. I can tell you Wardlow is one of them. It's a video I do recommend people to go and check out if they haven't seen it already. And the last question that came there from Aries then, we'll go back to the live chat afterwards, is will Mark Davis join the Don Callis family in the Carl Fletcher versus Will Ospreay feud? Obviously, he made a return on AEW TV last week when Carl Fletcher was having some words about Will Ospreay. Davis was upset with Fletcher's behavior, but Fletcher did remind Davis that a choice is going to have to be made by him soon. Pretty much you're either with him or against him. And I think that I briefed you of this question just before we came on air. And I think your sentence kind of sums this up pretty darn well, what you've replied to me.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't join the Don Callis family, I think he fades away into the mid card somewhere and like he's used as a jobber. So for him to stay relevant and on TV, I think he does join the Don Callis family. If they get to the point where these two are these obviously open, they were previously called. If they can get these two back together as a tag team, like they've got, they've got an opportunity to be tag team champions in AEW by all means.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's a good way to go as well because obviously at this moment he's kind of like he's come back. He wants to defend Will Ospreay, everything through the pandemic. But if he sees like the Carl Fletcher is actually, you know, moving forward and he's going to get left behind, there is an argument for him here to join that family. And like you say, if he doesn't, I mean, Jesus, AEW Rampage is going to be cancelled soon. So what's he going to do? Go to ROH? We don't wish that on Mark Davis. He's better than that, in my opinion. So I think he will join the family as well. He may end up being the fall guy for Fletcher in the feud, so he can have a match with Ospreay as well. But three great questions. I hope to get some more from Aries, and obviously we'll go back to the main chat where there's a host of great questions that have come in from everybody as well. So let's start off with Kai here. It says, are you a fan of wrestlers coming into a company and winning titles in the first month of being there? Motor City Machine Guns, I think, is the reference there for that one. I think if it's done correctly, yes, I am a fan of it. I think there are moments where it can create shock, excitement, and get you straight behind a character that maybe you might have not been so familiar with. For example, Carlito Caribbean Cool back in 2004 won the United States Championship on his debut match. You had all these vignettes for him to come in and stuff, and you kind of thought, where's he going to fit in on the roster? It was around 2004 where a lot of people came into SmackDown, were there for a cup of coffee, and buggered off again. So it kind of made actually, oh, this guy's actually here to stay, and there's a big deal, and there's the right thing for it. And obviously, Carlito's still around 20 odd years later in the professional wrestling world. But to go on with the Motor City Machine Guns, which is probably the most modern one of these, they are one of the best tag teams on the circuit. Not everybody probably knows about them outside of the they know about them outside of the WWE bug ball, but what about the non-casual fan or the casual fan? I'm trying to get the words out here. The non-hardcore fans, the casual fans, what do they think of the Motor City Machine Guns? Probably not much. So I think they're the type of team that's come in. They're going to give the special treatment at the start, the special sauce, show that they're an amazing tag team. But because they're a veteran tag team, they're eventually probably going to do what we've seen with Hardy Boys return, a Dudley Boys return. We're probably going to see these guys eventually being jobbers at some point in about a year or two. But until then, you start more strong. You start at the top of the division. NXT, Steve.
Yeah. I mean, Corey Grove summed it up best on commentary. They're your favorite tag team's favorite tag team. Like, these guys have been everywhere around the world, apart from WWE, and they've been brought in, booked high, won the tag team titles, which is great for them. I'm sure they'll go on to be a multi-time tag team champion. I'm pretty certain that these two have got a future in NXT in the future, whether it be backstage like as trainers or whatever. Because I think if you've got Chris Sabin as one of your trainers in NXT, that's a win, and I think that is just a future plan for him. But dude, in reference to the question, if it's the right person, sure. I mean, I've always wanted Kenny Omega to enter in the Royal Rumble, win the Rumble in his first match, actually be WrestleMania and win the title. Do you know what I mean? What a way to make a statement. So yeah, you can do it if it's the right person.
It all comes down to the right person at the right moment and the right time period. So, yeah, I think we're okay with it, depending on the scenario. Pierre wants the betrayal of Xavier Woods for the 10-year anniversary of the New Day episode of Raw. To quote Ross Geller, so do we, so do we. We would love to see it happen. Pierre also asking, what do you think of Xia Li? Should she have had better booking in WWE? A very talented performer, Xia Li. I've enjoyed her work. She's knocked a few people out of NXT in her time, but I think you went on to mention earlier on about how stacked the women's division is, how hard it is to break through and get towards the top. Should she have had better booking? Yes, but I don't see her getting to that top part of the card. There is a point where there is a stumbling block when it comes to, being at the level of a Becky Lynch, being at the level of a Bailey, a Charlotte Flair, and all these other hosts of names that you've got now, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair.
Do you know what it is for me? I think her character was a stereotyped character, and I think that's where she suffered. Like, she comes in and she's martial arts expert, throwing around nunchucks and swords and whatever, and I'm like, it almost feels stereotypical. And I think she suffered from so many character changes in NXT that really hindered her from even attempting to be a big star in NXT. Because remember, she joined what was the faction she was in with Bo and someone else, which they did all the cool stuff where like they were being tortured and like they were held prisoners, and they came out as this dominant trio, and then that ended about 2 weeks later. So they just constantly chop and change her character, and just didn't help her, unfortunately.
No, even on the main roster, I think she started in one way and then changed. I don't know if it was like face to heel or heel to face, but it changed very quickly. And it just really harmed the character booking as well. So, yeah, not an easy one, but perhaps she should have had better booking. Yes, Pierre. David, what a question. Loving this one. Says, what is the best talk show to ever be on wrestling TV? For him, it is Piper's Pit.
I'm going to go with, what was Jericho's one called?
That's a good point. It's not Talk is Jericho. That's the podcast, isn't it? But with the Geritron 5000.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. Jericho. I used to love the Jericho segments. It's kind of up there with the KO show for me.
KO show. I can't think of Jericho's one. He would have been probably my answer, to be fair, on that one. But let's go with I'll go with a Peep Show. I always thought Christian was good when it came to that as well. So
yeah, Christian is good.
Yeah, Peep. I'll go with a Peep Show if I had to go for one there. But Miss TV is not too bad. It's probably the best in the modern day ones.
No. Miss TV sucks. I'm sorry, I will not stand for it, Steve. The intro alone it's so long, man. Welcome to Miss TV, and it's like, oh my god, this is so droning. I'm not going to go with it. Sorry, I can't have it, Steve. I'm going to stick my foot down and be like, nope, not having it. Miss TV sucks.
Jericho's was the highlight reel.
The highlight reel. There we go. Yeah.
That for me is the right answer. Pierre says, I'm interested in Liv Morgan potentially becoming Morgan 2 belts soon. Could potentially happen. Kai says, do you remember the tag team in TNA Generation Me? Yes, they were the Young Bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, look how they turned out. They now are EVPs in a complete wrestling company.
Just a t-shirt company, let's be honest. What are your thoughts on the Women's War Games match this year, potentially being with NXT Girls and Jordan Grace's, Pierre? So obviously we gave some suggestions. I did a completely different match earlier in the week for my Survivor Series one, which I think could still happen. After all, we've discussed the idea of Bianca and Jade and Liv and Raquel being the leaders of one here. But what about one with the NXT Girls and Jordan Grace? Is there a chance?
Yes, 100%. That is the right answer. That's the War Games match we should be getting. The fact that they teased the 5-on-5, that should be the match we're getting.
It would be fun to see. I'm not against it. Put it that way. I'd love to see it happen. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't, but I would not be against it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right way to go.
Welcome to CNation Doc. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you for joining us. I still got that comment up there from the other question. Let's take that one away now. There we go. We can get back then into the comments then. Let's see. Sid says, does the UK have WrestleCon? Steve, does it?
No, unfortunately not. It's since pandemic and most of the independent promotions like closing around here, there's very rarely any independent wrestling. I think RevPro is the biggest UK wrestling independent show, but there's nothing like a WrestleCon.
I say I didn't think it was, to my knowledge, but it's good to get that knowledge, as I'm not in the UK, so I couldn't really answer that one. Pierre wants to see Chelsea Green as a singles champion in WWE. The mid-card title would be a good way to start for me. Danny says, what are your thoughts of Lyra Valkyria? Apparently Laura said on exclusive video that she wants Io after Io defeats Liv Morgan. She's been wrestling for 10 years and she is amazing, says Danilo. Danilo, I agree. I think Lyra Valkyria is amazing. She's a great talent, obviously coming from Ireland. I think she shone in NXT UK when she was there, which I believe was I think was Aoife Valkyrie, I think was her name there. And I thought she shone there in NXT UK. I was surprised she wasn't NXT UK champion. Moving on to NXT, she gradually built herself up the ladder, was a fantastic NXT women's champion. Obviously, the match with Becky Lynch as well. And Becky put her over big time. She comes to Raw. She started off well on Raw. She's faded away a little bit recently, but I think her time will come around. I think particularly as well when Becky Lynch makes a return, because I just have this idea we're going to throw out. You know, we suggested the idea of Liv and Raquel becoming women's tag team champions, then are beating Jade and Bianca. What about Becky and Lyra taking the titles off of Liv and Raquel?
Yeah, it's probably the best shout out there. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. She's kind of faded recently, and like there has been other stories bigger than her, and it's kind of like we're just waiting for that moment where she cements herself back into the scene. I mean, I would probably wait till like Elimination Chamber. That's probably going to be the next time she's probably involved in a major story, I would reckon.
Absolutely,
Maybe
yeah.
Rumble.
Maybe Rumble. It could be that sort of area. I think that Liv and Lyra will happen at some point in the near future before we get into the nitty gritty of the WrestleMania season. Sination says, I have a question. Do you think Cody Rhodes and Liv Morgan will have the crown jewel rings for a full year? And do you think they will just show up with it? Or do you think they will just show up with it for one show? Obviously, they had them on Raw this past week. I guess Cody will have it on SmackDown as well. How do you see it going with dare I say, with the diamond rings?
Those rings are never going to be seen again. From what I get, they're like Super Bowl rings according to Triple H. So it's a case of there's just going to be new ones every year. So that's literally going to go home. It's going to sit on the mantelpiece in Cody and Liv's house, and they're going to collect dust, and that's it, really. Yeah, it's a gimmick for a pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia, and that's all it's ever going to be, unfortunately. Like the titles, they won those titles, and we're never going to see them again now because the titles are genuinely staying in Saudi Arabia for the next year. So I have no reason to care about them because they're not a consistent mainstay on WWE TV.
I suppose I'll answer CD's question with a question. How often do you see the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal statue after the Battle Royal? You might see it for like
How often do you see the Greatest Royal Rumble Championship? We haven't seen that since.
It's been missing for so long. So long. Wasn't a fan of the green strap, though, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it will be for one show. I think, though, that one of them should keep it, particularly Liv as the heel. It should be the MGF diamond ring.
Dude, the thing was bigger than her, man. Like, she held it up, and it was like the same size as her. I was like, what? She's gonna have to have she's gonna have to give it to Raquel to carry because it was just too big.
I was on about the Super Bowl ring, not the title.
I thought about the title. Yeah, the one there, the ring as well. Good. Yeah, the ring. Yeah, like they put up on socials, didn't they? The video of them putting the rings on, and Cody, for love nor money, could not get that thing on his finger. It was like they did not size his hands up properly, and it looks like it got on. And I'm telling you now, he spent the next 20 minutes with a load of baby oil and butter trying to get that thing off.
It's one and done, CD. It's not coming back. Moose is challenging Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship. Do you think he wins? And are you a fan of Moose being in the X Division? Well, I mean, we've had the likes of Samoa Joe back in there in the past, so we've seen like the heavyweights being involved in the X Division. It can lead to some exciting matches and circumstances. You would argue that Moose should, but damn, I'd like to see Mike Bailey win. He's not had the title for very long, so I'll go with Mike Bailey to win on this one.
Do you think Moose's value has dropped off in the last couple of years since pandemic, when he had the opportunity to leave and he re-signed with TNA? I don't think there's as much hype about it now as there was maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Not outside of TNA. Obviously, in TNA, he's been world champion for about 6 months this year. But obviously, outside of that bubble, if he does become a free agent again, what would happen? Obviously, he's not done the crossover so far to NXT, although I still think that day may actually come, as he's a heck of a performer. But it's a good question. I do think that the stock has dropped a little bit, yeah.
There we go. Stock, that was the word I was looking for. Yeah, I know. I noticed it, and I was like, I remember a couple of years ago, like I said, during pandemic, when his contract was coming up, and there was all this hype about him going to potentially AEW, potentially WWE, how much of a big deal he'd be coming in. And like, I feel like since re-signing with TNA, he's not done anything to sort of, like you said, raise his stock level. He's been TNA champion, but it was expected because of where he was already positioned on that card, and he's not done anything bigger, essentially.
Absolutely, indeed. Just say, if you enjoyed the video so far, please hit the like button. The viewers are growing, as you hit the like button. So please continue to support the channel if you are jumping in and just see it grow further and more questions can come flying in. Kicking with Leo says, when do you think Ash by Elegance will win the TNA Knockouts Championship?
She should have already done it, to be fair. She's been there a while. She's had some high-profile stories.
I tell you what, I was so impressed with Masha Slamovich at Bound for Glory against Jordan Grace. I thought it was a killer match. Really good match. It was my favorite match of the night, if I'm going to be honest. Now that we have said we do think Jordan Grace is going to be off ski to WWE when her contract expires early next year, I do think Ash by Elegance is the next one in line. It's just how long you want that title on Masha for. And because she's just won it, that's my hesitation to give you an exact date. But let's go out and just randomly throw a date out. I'm going to say to you Rebellion. So I'm going to say April next year.
It's a good shout. To be fair, gives Masha a good run with the championship.
Certainly does. You can see John Cena and Joe Hendry having a stare down in the Royal Rumble. Please just give it to me. Another Friends quote for you there.
Yeah, man, it sounds good. Do you know what? That sounds like the most balmy tag team that I want to see, to be fair. The Joe Hendry and John Cena as tag team champions.
I want it as a team. I want it as a match. I want it as a stare down. I want it as a promo segment. I want Joe Hendry to do a song on John Cena. Give me what I want. Kai says, what is the first wrestling match you ever watched? His was Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, WrestleMania 7, if I'm not mistaken. Mine would actually be the opening match of WrestleMania 8, would be Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana. Not a bad way to start, if I do say so myself, because look, I'm here still all those years later. Yes, I know I'm old to everybody watching.
Yeah, we literally was having this conversation yesterday about my one when I said my first one was Royal Rumble 92, I believe, with the one Ric Flair one. And I was telling you, my brother, like me at 6 years old, my brother's keeping me up until 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the Royal Rumble. And yeah, ever since then, like, again, same as you, I'm here 30 plus years later, still watching it.
Okay, we're dedicated. That's all we can say. We came in a good era, Kai. That's all I can say. Signature says the Pure Fusion Collective was supposed to be women's war games this year, but fans didn't care about them, so WWE had to change plans. Is what he heard. Okay, that's cool. Obviously,
I wish they changed the name.
But yeah, I think the name is probably what harmed it. To be fair, I like the three. I like the trio, but I don't like them losing every match. I don't like the name. But apart from that, I thought they had a lot coming from.
Bring back Shayna Baszler biting people's necks and making them bleed. I want that. I want that Shayna Baszler back.
An absolute animal she was at that point. Yeah. Ray says, my favorite gimmick is Broken Matt Hardy. I wanted to beat like Broken Matt Hardy. Who didn't do the Broken Matt Hardy when that was going along? Yeah, exactly. I would do it, but I'd probably butcher it now. It's been a while. CD says we had the Beatdown Clan in TNA, the Hurt Business in WWE, now the Hurt Syndicate in AEW. They have made history and more history than people think. Oh, I miss the Beatdown Clan. So this is another name that could actually join the Hurt Syndicate is Samoa Joe because of the Beatdown Clan.
Dude, they should bring back the Main Event Mafia. That was the coolest faction name in pro wrestling, man. And it makes sense to have Bobby Lashley and Samoa Joe in it.
Absolutely, yeah. That is so true. That's so true. Is there any gimmick you wanted to be like? Asked Ray.
Oh, dude, like Orange Cassidy is just my embodiment of pro wrestling. Like, I would be the laziest wrestler in the world. Don't get me wrong. Like give me the aesthetic of Kevin Owens because he looks comfy when he wrestles. He's wearing basketball shorts. He's wearing a baggy t-shirt. And give me the wrestling style of Orange Cassidy, man. That is me to a T.
I love it. There's probably been hundreds over the years that I've probably thought I wanted to be like, if I'm being brutally honest. But
6-year-old kid, I wanted to be Ultimate Warrior. I wanted to be like, yeah, on the ropes. You know, everything like that.
Probably would have been. I suppose if you'd have said to me, what gimmick did you want to be? I mean, it's not even really a gimmick when you look back at it, but I wanted to be like a Bret Hart when I first started watching wrestling. It was all about, the pink shades and stuff like that. It was just cool as, do you know what I mean? Like, but
do you know why do you know why he wore the sunglasses?
Go on.
So in his the WWE DVD they released about the year of the Montreal screw job. He turned around and said that he had to start wearing sunglasses because he was doing a backstage interview with Mean Gene, and they pre-recorded it, and he watched it back, and he said his eyes were just all over the place, like he didn't look like he was concentrating, and he said if Vince had seen it, he'd never have done a promo over again. So he literally grabbed a pair of sunglasses, put them on, because obviously he couldn't see his eyes, and then ever since then, that's where the sunglasses come from. He put on a pair of Ray-Bans, but then that's where Bret Hart wearing sunglasses come from, because apparently he couldn't do a promo video because he just looked nervous and looked like he didn't have a clue what he was doing.
So interesting. I didn't know that. So it's really fun info to get. And just to give a full answer for this one, certainly with a modern day wrestler, Elias. Definitely the idea of the concerts was certainly a lot of fun. Joe Hendry's doing a good job of it these days as well. So yeah, that'll be my pick for that one. Bobby Lashley could be the first person to have won the WWE Championship, AEW World Championship, and TNA World Championship. It is possible. And CD, you are right. It is possible.
Hope so.
I hope so as well. Pierre says he thinks that Wardlow should leave AEW. I agree. And go to WWE, honestly. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, dude, put him in NXT. He'll be massive as like, do you know what I mean? That big powerhouse NXT champion to start off with.
Absolutely. CD says AEW doesn't book big wrestlers well. It's just a fact, to be fair. It's a fact. We've seen it with many of them over the time. Lance Archer,
I know, Kenny, to be fair, yeah, I think Kenny's meant to be coming back as well, talking about wrestlers that are not around. I think he's doing something in Japan. Is he for Wrestle Dream?
Yeah, Wrestle Dream, Wrestle Dynasty, whatever it's called, the January 5th show, I think, it's meant to be. And of course, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet has been announced for that show. Ray asked, do we like Carl Fletcher's new haircut? Honestly, I think it's better than his last one.
Can't say I've seen it, if I'm honest. I can't remember. Like, the haircuts are very, like, you've seen my hair, right? It's very one thing I don't really pay attention to.
He shaved it all off.
Oh, has he gone with a buzz cut, has he?
Gone with the buzz cut, yeah.
To be fair, I mean, it's very military style, isn't it? And it's kind of like it has its place. I had buzz cut for like, you know what I mean, from the ages of like 0 going up to about 15 when I realised there is such a thing as fashion and style. So I'm not a fan of buzz cuts.
No, fair play, fair play. P.R. when is Ospreay and Takeshita coming back to AWTV? I mean, Takeshita is the international champion. They've done a lot of the build with Ricochet and Takeshita off of outside of AWTV. They've done it with Maple Leaf Wrestling, I think, with Japan as well. But Takeshita and Ricochet are both due on Dynamite tonight. So yeah,
isn't Ospreay challenging for that, or am I thinking of a different title for? Not Ospreay, Orange Cassidy.
Also, Orange Cassidy's going for Moxley's World Championship. That'll be at Full Gear.
Gotcha, right. Yeah, sorry. Dude, they rechange the name every 5 minutes. You just lose track of what's called what anymore.
It's true. It's very true. I actually think there's a chance Will Ospreay could return tonight as Ricochet's tag team partner. But I think, obviously, Ospreay has been selling the injuries and the beatdown from Carl Fletcher, which is why he's been off TV for a couple of weeks. And I think it's been the right move to do so. They will be back in time and on Full Gear. Cine says, I would like to see Mark Davis join Carl Fletcher and the Don Callis family, but I think Carl Fletcher has been doing good in the singles ranks. I think he'll still continue as a singles wrestler. The occasional tag team wrestling, I think, will do when it's necessary, but I think it will be that Mark Davis will almost be the I want to throw like who's an understudy to a faction. It's like the person that always
he's the Damien Mizdown to the Miz.
There you go. There you go. I was like, it's like the Chavo Guerrero and like that used to go like with Eddie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, back in those days, yeah.
So I know why Mizdown was the first one to come to my head, to be honest.
It was more modern than mine, so I'm happy about it. So, Pierre says, Rhea Ripley did it as well. She made her main roster debut in 2021, and 4 weeks later, she won the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania 37 against Asuka. Certainly was, and to be honest, on that one, I actually felt it was a bit rushed. I did feel that one didn't quite connect the way it should have done, but it's worked out well in the end.
With that, yeah, the problem with that one is that Rhea Ripley had such a massive following coming from NXT, and obviously that's Black and Gold era, and it's kind of like it's hard not to have someone from the Black and Gold era come up and not do something memorable. Do you know what I mean? Like Kevin Owens beat John Cena. Paige won the Divas title with her first night on Raw against AJ Lee. So with that period you're going through in like Impact is, and obviously when Paige come up, NXT wasn't even a weekly show. Well, it was a pre-recorded 1 hour segment. Do you know what I mean? They used to record every 3 weeks. So yeah, it's that era. Like, but I understand the situation. Like I said, if it's the right name, and for me, Rhea Ripley being a multi-time NXT champion, like, dude, I loved it personally.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to see as champion. It's just I felt it was a bit rushed, and I felt like when you then went to the program with Charlotte Flair, it did. That's why I felt like Ripley didn't connect as much. She didn't really have the journey. Do you know what I mean? Like I felt like she was someone that could have used the journey.
She needed that redemption arc after losing the NXT Championship to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think there would have been a better way to have done the story to have brought back. They did it in the end. WrestleMania 39. That's arguably one of the certainly one of the best matches of that WrestleMania. Yeah, it was brilliant. Areas of another question: are Trent Barretta and Powerhouse Hobbs still in AEW as they should be on TV? As they're in the Don Callis family with Takeshita, Brian Cage, Lance Archer, and Carl Fletcher. Both are injured. That's why they're not.
Yeah, I was going to say I thought Trent was injured. Yeah.
Yeah, both injured. Powerhouse Hobbs has been backstage at AEW recently, so perhaps their return is imminent for him. But obviously, they have said, I think Don Callis has said, the current carnation of the Don Callis family is the strongest it's ever been. So, what does that mean for Trent and Hobbs when they return? Will they still be part of the family? That's probably a big question.
Keshka is a massive star. Like he is like in ring, he is so good, and putting him with someone like Don Callis is the right move for him, man. He's a massive star. I expect him at some point to go back to New Japan though and be a mainstay on New Japan Wrestling.
Yeah, I do as well. I think though before he does that, it seems crazy to say at the moment. Obviously, the international title is still a few levels down, but the way he was being booked a year ago, and if they can get back to that style of booking, he does have what it takes to be an AEW World Champion.
Yes. Agreed. Definitely.
It's in the locker. See, this is I'd like to see. Xavier was betrayed Kofi during the New Day's 10-year anniversary celebration. I feel like it's a very popular decision. We may all get our wish, I think. And PS says, do we think Lola Vice can be special on the main roster? Taking the word can out of this question, which will mean yes. But how will she be booked on the main roster? I mean, right now it's difficult to say. I know, for example, Kiana James is injured right now. She's going to be out for quite a while, but she got called up and not a lot happened. And we've seen with Lyra Valkyria, she had a run with the NXT Women's Championship, started hot, called off a little bit. I think for me right now, Lola Vice isn't quite ready, in my personal opinion. I think she could do with another year in NXT.
Unfortunately, with WWE, it's more like they're getting to the point where you've got to have a character now. Like you could be great in ring, but you've got to have something that transitions well to live TV. And it's like if you're going to be going on on Raw every week and SmackDown every week, you've got to have a character that WWE want to put on TV every week. And at the minute, I feel this about a lot of the NXT women. They're all kind of the same when it comes to presentation, storylines. There's not a lot of them that are doing a lot to stand out for themselves, unless you're someone, for instance, like a Julia, Stephanie Vikov, two big names that have come in. Azaria's done the same as well. But then you've got, like I say, you've got Roxanne Perez, you've got Cora Jade, they're bringing in Jordan Grace. It's like there's so many big names, and it's like, how does she's got to first work out how to be a part of that mix before she even worries about getting to the main roster.
Yeah, 100% true as well. And that's why we have the Women's North American Championship, because you can see what it's done to Kalani Jordan.
Exactly.
She feels like now she's ready to go up a level after having that run with the championship for 5 months. And I think she's got the potential to move up to that next bracket, because the fact is she's part of this 10-woman tag. But Lola Vice, Jada Parker should be an awesome hardcore match this evening. And don't worry, we're going to quickly touch on NXT's thoughts about this before we close off the video. So we're going to do the next 15 minutes. We're going to power through the questions. Then we're going to finish off of NXT and the ECW arena for our video today. So Sid says Ali is in TNA. She is indeed. She has been there for a short period, and hope for good things for her while she's there. WWE Teases Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill splits, but they will eventually break up. Cough, cough. Just look at the New Day, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller. Absolutely, it's all teases. We've been teased all over the place, and hopefully we'll get our wish at some point, as we discussed at the start of the video.
Yeah.
Highlight Reel is the TV show name. CD did get there for us when we were struggling 20 minutes ago to think of it. So thank you, CD, for that.
That's how long far behind we are.
We are so far behind. So far that I've seen. To Speak Carl is in the comments. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope you're still with us. We'll get to your question in a minute. Who does the wrestlers concert better, do you think? Is it Elias, The Rock, or Joe Hendry? Or do any other wrestlers that do that concert? Who is the best in your opinion?
Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, baby. His rap concerts were the best. I used to love it when he used to come out and rip on the Big Show. I thought it was fantastic.
It's not Max Caster. That's one thing I'll say.
Max Caster is for the adult audience. He says rude words.
He does. He gets himself on a naughty step quite a few times in AEW,
Yeah.
so it's not him. For me, I think the answer I'm gonna have to say, look, if you want it through star power, obviously the answer will be The Rock because of the fact that it brought eyes to segments and everyone wanted Rock concerts when that went on. Elias was great at getting the heat. But Joe Hendry is very creative with a lot of his songs. Now, I would say that Ethan Sucks Put On Some Clothes song is not his best work he's ever done, but there were so many great songs that Joe Hendry has worked with on the independent circuit. And also, yeah, just in TNA in general. I mean, I can only have to say for the TNA fans in the comments, Matt Cardona, Edge's Bitch, that song in particular is a standout. So, yeah, make sure to check that. So, Joe Hendry will be mine of all those.
It depends what your cup of tea is, but I'd go with Elias.
There you go. Teases Bianca says, good evening, gentlemen. Just spent my day working and purchasing a new car. Oh, lovely. Congratulations.
Nice.
So your stream is a brief escape for today. So thanks for your entertainment. Well, thank you for joining us, Kyle, and hope you're doing well, my friend. And shout out to OTM as well. Fantastic content each and every Thursday.
OTM.
Absolutely. We need to have like a us and OTM collab under one roof. I think that'd be
tag
really
team match.
Yeah, literally. It'd be like we could be a War Games team. Literally, if all 5 of us were there, it'd be like a proper War Games team. PS says, I think Live Akira should be on TV more. In fact, she was one of the last one eliminated in the Battle Royal. Gives me hope that WWE has a plan for her. Yeah, she's next in the pecking order.
Hey, Liv Morgan was runner-up in the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. Give it time.
Exactly. And she's still fresh to the main roster. Her time will come. And I think, like I said, when Becky comes back, if they can get the women's tag team titles, that'd be great for Lyra at this point of the game. She's still growing on the main roster. And I think maybe a move to SmackDown. Yeah, there's time. There's time. It's all going to be good. Sid asks, when will Charlotte Flair return as a babyface or heel? I guess what the storyline calls for, but I'm going to say heel.
Depends who the champion is more than anything, but really heel. Her best work is done as a heel.
She might return as a face, like initially, but then be a heel like almost immediately. Like, they expect a big pop.
If you've ever seen someone smile awkwardly because it doesn't suit them, it's Charlotte Flair because her best work is done as a heel.
Exactly. Give her the pop that she's back. Way we got Charlotte back, and then just have a turn immediately. And I remember there was a WWE draft. I can't remember what year it was, but it's in the 2000s. And Edge was on SmackDown, and like he was a babyface, and then he went to Raw, and then like within an hour he turned heel. It's like, oh, the big pop Edge is here! Wow! He's on Raw, and all of a sudden, John Cena, new feud, brilliant. He's a bad guy.
That's good.
So, yeah, that's exactly how it should be. So, Pierre here says, question: if the greater good of the BCC is not Shane McMahon or Ronda Rousey, who do you think it is? Josh Barnett.
Oh God, no. I'm gonna say, who's the TNA guy that got released at the start of the year?
Scott D'Amore.
Scott D'Amore. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
I like that, although he's got Maple Leaf Wrestling, but I'd like your answer. It's very, very good. Why can't it be Tony Khan himself? I want to destroy my own creation. Inject a lethal dose of poison. It's the NWO. Sid says, Dutch Mantel, he has beat sepsis twice and nearly died both times. He's currently at home recovering after a month-long stay in hospital.
Yeah, he has
a GoFundMe
page. Yeah,
we wish him all the very best. For Dutch Mantel and Sid, thank you for highlighting the GoFundMe page. And obviously they have the Storytime with Dutch Mantel YouTube channel. I think that you can find the link on that page there. It's a very popular YouTube channel. Dutch is telling some fantastic stories on it. So wish him all the very, very best and hope he recovers well soon. See, this is, if I was a wrestler, I'd want to be a heel because being a heel is more fun than being a babyface. Yeah, it certainly is. For me, I'd want to be a manager or a commentator just because I'm lazy and I think I'd be happier using my voice.
Here's a question for you. If you was actually a wrestler, what's the one thing you'd want to achieve as a wrestler?
I guess main event WrestleMania, or win a Royal Rumble.
See, that's why I said win a Royal Rumble or win the IC title, because for me, the IC title was it as a kid. But yeah, win a Rumble or the IC title was the one I always used to say. Yeah,
I mean, I was an IC title. I was always the mid card. Like, if you go back to like the early 90s, like stuff, like for me, I was always like, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Rez Ramon. And then when you got to the actual
Tatanka, man.
I was, he was my goat. He was my goat.
It's like something saying Repo Man. It just makes me crack.
Hey, they matched once. I'm sure they did. CD says WWE should keep Jey Uso as a single wrestler after the Bloodline Civil War games. Sure, you can have the Usos reunite for a bit, but don't keep it forever. Do you know, I think there's an argument that you don't have to have them as a team forever either. I actually think that they can keep the option open for both. So I think that's actually a really good point that's been made of him, CD.
What, yeah, because they are the longest reigning tag team champions of all time. The Dudley Boys still own the amount. I think it's 10 reigns as tag team champions in WWE. Usos have got to be close to that as well. I'd like to see them beat that record.
Yeah, I think New Day are close to that record or top that record as well. Or equal. I'm not sure. It's one or the other.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I think James definitely deserves a shot as well, being the single star as well. Jimmy as well. Jimmy's actually fantastic at what he does. He's hugely underrated because everyone goes for the star power now that we have of main event Jay.
Isn't Jimmy the one that's normally injured though? Like every time that these guys disappear off TV for about 6 months because one of them injured, isn't it normally the Jimmy that's out injured?
Yeah, I think it's usually Jimmy. It
Yeah,
was Jay the host of the chat.
Yeah.
Jay hosted.
So I said you can stay fit by all means.
Yeah, absolutely. Davenport should have stayed in NXT. Why did she even go to SmackDown if they don't use her? This is the problem. But I think she's too experienced to be in NXT. So, it's not kind of working out for her at this particular moment.
Unfortunately, they need people to lose on SmackDown.
She's one of them, unfortunately for her. Kyle was in House of This is still here. Don't have any questions, but I'm enjoying what you guys have got to say. Well, it's always good to have you around, dude. If there's no questions, we appreciate you viewing in, and I'm glad you enjoyed the episode. Aries says here, who would win if there was a future blood and guts match between Lance Archer, Brian Cage, Powerhouse Hobbs, Beretta, Fletcher, Davis, Takeshita versus Private Party, Garcia, and 4 others? Well, we don't know the 4 others. This is the problem. I'm going to have to go with a team that's got the 7 dudes in it at this moment.
I'd be very hard to go against Takeshita at the minute. The guy's fantastic.
If I could pick 4 other guys of my own, then it would be the other team. But I think that's the issue. If you're going with though, like Dark Order, for example, joining them, then they don't stand a chance.
It all depends on who the other 4 is.
Team Takeshita all the way. Max Caster got suspended for one of his raps at one time. Yeah, he did. Certainly did. Teases Bianca says, sign us up. Always wanted to be on a show with NX Steve. We'll make that happen. Kyle, I'll be in your DMs within this week. We're going to sort something out. Don't worry. CD says Charlotte Flair is Big Show. She turns babyface or heel whenever the feud she is in. Absolutely. Kevin Owens is kind of similar when it comes to that.
Yeah, but Kevin Owens. Look. The only thing I want to say is Charlotte Flair is the most decorated women's champion, and Kevin Owens is Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is the only wrestler I know that breaks the 4th wall, and he does it so well. It's like, you can't come out yet. I haven't said your name. You're not supposed to come out until I say your name. And dude, it cracks me up every time. Big Show. The best thing I ever saw Big Show do was dress up as Hulk Hogan.
For me, it's break the ring with Brock Lesnar, but I'll take it.
Oh, that's good as well.
I'll take it. Sid says, would you like to see Tony Khan wrestle? I mean, like is a strong word. Would I like another episode of Worst Match Ever? Yes. Would I like Tony Khan in it? Yes. But do I think I actually want to watch this? No.
I imagine it'd be like, I don't know, one suplex and that's it. Tony Khan's like in a wheelchair for the next 6 months while he's doing physiotherapy trying to recover.
He sold the Meltzer driver well, and to be fair with him as well, the NFL draft when they had the neck brace. Respect from a wrestling fan. You gotta love it. Yeah, it's still real to me. CD says, if I was a wrestler, I'd want to win the championship in WWE. Doesn't matter what title it is, I would just be happy to be a champion in the biggest wrestling company. To be fair, you can't argue with that.
To be fair, I already have a championship now. I've got this one, so I'm good with this one.
NXT, NXT, kind of it has a ring to it, doesn't it? To be fair, you are the champion. CD says New Day 11-time tag team champions in WWE, so they actually have the record. Usos 8 times.
Okay.
So they're close. There you go. David said if he was a wrestler, he would want to be the one that gets paid the most money. David, you're thinking smarter. You're not working harder, and I like it, my friend. I respect that a lot there. When it comes to the negotiating table, David, you can be my agent.
He wants to be Ric Flair.
Absolutely. I'm down with that. Aries says, who would win? I said Takeshita or Ricochet in the international title. He would choose Ricochet because I think he needs a single title in AEW. I think it's coming for Ricochet.
Yeah, he's only been there 5 minutes though, and Takeshita's so good at the minute. I just want him to, like I said, you said it earlier perfectly. He's got the ability to be future AEW World Champion.
So this is what I want to see. I want to see Ricochet win the title, and then I want Takeshita to go into the Continental Classic, win that, and take on Okada.
Oh, oof! And it'd be like a passing of the torch.
Yes, fine.
All
the stars, all the stars.
Yes,
Well,
give me 9 stars.
That would be the one. And see, this is Kevin Owens is the only wrestler who has
Yes.
logic. You can't argue with that. We have caught up with the comments, ladies and gentlemen. We done it. We actually did it. We actually did it quicker than I said we would. Actually, there's one more coming, so let's do it. Aries says, if I was a wrestler, I'd have the best faction ever, because if we got paid $1 million a day, we'd be the richest faction in WWE, AEW, or TNA. Do you know what? I actually like that answer, because if I had a faction, a lot of people would cover my ass. I could say what I want and probably get away with it. So yeah,
I would want an NWO style faction that transcends every wrestling business.
I want John Moxley on my stable. That's what I want. I think I'm safe with Moxley and Haku as well. Do your worst.
Yeah,
I've got Haku.
Yeah, you want a bodyguard? Haku is the guy.
It is the guy indeed. So NXT obviously is going to be in the ECW arena, the 2300 arena, of course, in Philadelphia tonight. You are buzzing for it. I am buzzing for it. EC Dub. I loved it back in the day. Nostalgic. You know, with me RVDs, me Sabus, me Tommy Dreamers, absolutely loved it back then. Throw Raven in as well. But your thoughts tonight? You said you want to talk particularly about Trick Williams and Bubba Ray Dudley against Ridge Holland and Page.
They have this great opportunity to do something Bully Ray wanted to do. Bully Ray wanted to do for years, and he wanted to bring Bully Ray over to WWE, and they wouldn't do it because they used to do all this Make-A-Wish stuff. I think if we have Bubba Ray turn on Trick Williams, your next challenger for that NXT Championship is Bully Ray versus Trick Williams, and we get Bully Ray in WWE in some format or another. NXT seems like the perfect fit for him. Trick Williams, you know, that young, hot upcoming wrestler who is the champion, going against this grizzled veteran who has gone through TNA, who's, do you know what I mean? He's been the leader of the Aces and Eights, and he's done one of the best sort of stab in the back moments over there when he, do you know what I mean, defied Hulk Hogan and Brooke Hogan, and like it was me, like that was his Vince McMahon, it's me, Austin, it's always been me moment. And I think, yeah, if we can finally get a run with Bully Ray in NXT, I'm really hoping they pull the trigger on it tonight, because I don't want it to just be Bully Ray and Trick Williams win because they're in the ECW arena. I want Bubba Ray to, do you know what I mean? I want, like, the fact that he did something with Ridge Holland, and I just hope they're building to it, and I want to see like some pure Dudley Boy aggression from Bubba Ray.
Go and see my short if you haven't seen it already. But my answer to this, I'm just going to say, is wouldn't actually be fun instead that actually Bully actually encouraged Ridge to interrupt him all those times in the show that he did recently for NXT Halloween Havoc. That it's actually a ruse to get to Trick Williams and get Ridge Holland to the next level. Actually, Bully Ray is endorsing Ridge and not actually feuding with him. I think that could be a good way to go.
I don't know. I'd still like the idea of Bully Ray going, because I think that's an easy win. Well, not an easy win, but I think it's a good title defense for Trick to retain if he comes up against someone against Bully Ray. And like I said, if you want to go with that angle with Rich Holland, you can work that in somewhere and have Bully Ray be almost like a mentor to Ridge Holland, and have Ridge be the challenger after that.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, while I've got you, let's go through the other couple of matches quickly and get you some quick predictions. First off, then let's go with the hardcore match, Jada Parker versus Lola Vice. And obviously we do have Dawn Marie as a special guest referee.
I'm going to say Jada Parker. I think that she's, do you know what I mean? She is, I think, I don't know, I think that's the only, like, I've got no real logical reason for this one. It's kind of like they're both in the same situation. I'm just going to throw a name out there and hope it sticks.
I mean, she's got history. She beat Michin earlier this year in a hardcore match, so she has got the history of doing so. The women's 10-person tag match, obviously, with Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Fatal Influence against Julia, Stephanie Vacour, Zaria, Jordan Grace, and Kalani Jordan.
As much as I hate to bet against the NXT Women's Champion, dude, that's 5 big names. It's Jordan Grace. It's, do you know what I mean, 3 brand new wrestlers that have just come into the company. It's very hard to not go against them, especially since they just recently took the loss They did lose, didn't they, in the tag team match against the pair of them? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it all makes sense. All makes logical sense there. Javon Evans against Wesley.
Wesley for me. I think Wesley is starting to push into the boundaries of main eventing now. So he needs this win, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And Bobby, thank you for joining us, Bobby. Hope you're doing well. Says, do you guys think Ava announcement tonight on NXT is going to be about another breakout tournament? Actually, you're probably right with that. It's not what I said. Or NXT involved in Survivor Series this year. I think the breakout tournament is more likely. I was hoping it'd be a Worlds Collide show, NXT versus TNA, because I'm a dreamer.
Yeah, do you know, it would be. Maybe that's for the Survivor Series weekend. We get that one, but dude, otherwise, the breakout tournament, because it's normally hold it in like late November, December, don't they? The breakout tournament. So yeah, it's the right time, and it's kind of like their Money in the Bank thing, but it's just on a tournament format, or their King of the Ring essentially now.
Yeah, you're bang on the money with that one there. I'm just quickly getting the sound effects around here because CD, we need to give you a round of applause, my friend, because he's in the YouTube partner program, everybody. Congratulations, CD. Dude deserves it. He's worked hard. He has worked very hard for it. So CD, congratulations, my friend. And yeah, good to see you. Start bringing in the Benjamins. Hassan says, hi, guys. Hope you're doing well. And Bobby's happy to see it as well. And Aries, thank you for the very kind words. You guys are the best Q&A duo in YouTube history. There's no doubt on that. We really appreciate the kind words, Aries. And thank you for your excellent questions throughout this episode. We really spoiled with the amount of great comments we've had on this particular aspect and this particular episode.
It's been a proper wide variety. We've had TNA, we've had AEW, we've had WWE. Sometimes we do these and we just get all AEW or WWE, but it's been a great one tonight.
We've been across the board in all different directions, and we've loved every
New Japan as well.
Bit of it. We have, yeah. We've dived into a bit of Wrestle Dynasty. So, yeah, it's all good stuff indeed. So, thank you everyone for watching. We hope you all enjoyed the video. This is where we're going to close off today. But we hope you enjoy NXT, AEW. The war is on tonight. Who's going to win? Whichever show you watch. So, just enjoy wrestling. Have a great time. Enjoy yourselves. Keep an eye on the channel as well because there's many great videos on the way with myself and Steve. We've got some in the works for you coming over the next week or two. CD in particular asked for a Mount Rushmore. That's coming with male wrestlers from 2010. We've got a brand new series called Yes or No coming to the channel as well. We had Worst Match Ever yesterday. And of course, there is going to be Survivor Series theme videos on the way as well. So plenty of things to get your teeth stuck into as we're on the road.
The poll finished, by the way.
The poll is not finished, but it might as well be because there's a clear winner in mind for it. But yeah, SCW Rewind later in the month. Which Survivor Series will it be? 2009, 2014, or 2019? You can have your say in the community page right now.
The best Survivor Series of all time, by the way, my ad is winning currently, and I hope it stays that way.
Fingers crossed indeed. Hit the like button. It helps the channel more than you can ever imagine. Please do support the channel. If there's anything you want to discuss after the video, drop it in the comment section because, again, helps the video, and I will answer it personally for you. Any question, I promise to answer it. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great one. We'll see you for the next video. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.